Hey guys, so I've been gone from this channel for a while. You guys have probably been able to tell I'm slowly starting to come back and be more consistent, and so that is the goal. So to start off this video, I just wanted to do a story time today. I've been wanting to do a story time for so long, but I never really could pick a story that I wanted to tell because although my life has been very interesting, there's some things that I just don't want to put out there on social media for a lot of various reasons. I don't want to put certain things on my social medias. So this story time is kind of like a part two of the one of the story times I told in the past. I told a story time about the time I was involved in like a drive-by shooting. I don't know if I titled it that. It was something like that, but it had to do with cars. You can go, I'll put the video up here somewhere. You can click it and watch that first if you want to, but it's kind of out of order anyways because this story actually took place before the story I told back when, like months ago. So basically, to give a background about this story, I guess I should have told the story first, but it's okay because I'm telling it now. I started driving school basically when I was, I believe, 17. I don't remember. It could have been 16, but I think I was 17. I know I got my driver's license senior year of high school because I was in AP chemistry and I missed that class to take my driving test. So I was in driving school all summer basically, and I believe you have to be in it for like 6 months and then do a certain amount of hours of driving hours with them. So you have to spend an hour driving yourself, like you have to spend an hour driving, and then you spend the other hour letting the other person that's in the car with you drive. So there's like 2 people always in the car with the driving instructor basically. So I didn't know what driving school I wanted to go to in my area. I didn't know basically anything, but my parents did because my older sister took driving school before me, and basically she went to the place that she went to I ended up going to, long story short. And if you guys watched my first video, I've already kind of told you guys how this driving school was very, I would just say very ghetto. Like, I really don't know another word to say. Hope that people don't get offended, but genuinely I feel like that driving school was ghetto. And so if you guys see the first video, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But long story short, I always had a fear of driving. So something interesting, like I never really desired to drive. I never really was one of those kids that was just like, oh my gosh, I'm about to drive, like I have a car now, a license. Like I was never that kid, which was strange to my parents because most kids are like that. Most teenagers are like that. They're ready to drive. I always had a fear of driving because people just drive crazy, guys, especially on the freeway. That was my number one fear. The freeway with the big trucks, and it's just looks so dangerous to me, and the amount of car accidents that take place yearly, and people drinking and driving, people texting and driving. It was just so many different things that just made me so fearful of driving. And so I was not happy about going to driving school, but I knew it needed to be done because I didn't want to be 18 and not know how to drive. I want to be incapable of driving. I feel like that's something that everybody needs to learn how to do to survive in this world. So I ended up doing it. This is literally the story time about the first day. So I started in the summer and it went on to the school year. And I just remember the first driving school I ever took, I believe, started in the summertime. I don't remember if it was June or July. No, it took place in the summer. And basically, my mom drops me off to the location. I go up to the area where the driving school is and I walk in, and this was the first day that I was driving. So basically, you go to driving school, you have to watch a video, take a test, and then once you pass that test, you can start driving. So I had done all that, and I'd passed the test, and I'd start driving. So keep in mind, I had been at this place before, so I knew where to go, I knew what to do. It was just I had never started driving yet. So this was the first day that I was driving, not the first day that I attended driving school. The driving instructor, so the guy that taught the classes, he was super cool. He was really funny. My sister had him, and he was actually the instructor that drove my sister, and he was pretty chill. So I really would have preferred to have him. I ended up getting somebody really good, but at the moment I would have preferred to have him over the guy that I got that the story is about. So I finally walk in, and this is the driving day. I am so nervous, guys, because I barely drove before this. So I knew you had to do some, you didn't want to go to driving school and not have some experience of like what to do. So before I went to driving school to drive for the first time, my dad helped me. He taught me the parts of the car, how everything works, and I would drive in parking lots and things like that. So I knew how the car worked, okay? I knew the gas versus the brakes. I knew how to drive simple things. Like I could drive in a parking lot. I could, I could turn curves. I could do things like that. I just never driven on an actual road because I was waiting for driving school to do that. So we get there, and there's this guy. It's a black guy, and he seems super chill at first. I sign in. You could tell he wanted to drive with other guys, because when he saw me and then another girl, he was just kind of like, okay, come on. But you could tell he was waiting for somebody, like he wanted a guy or something. I don't know what that's about, but long story short, we both get in the car. The other girl seems just as nervous as me. We both get into the car, and long story short, she drives first. So I was a bit relieved because I didn't want to go first and basically bomb it. So I was relieved that I didn't have to go first. But now that I'm looking back at it, I wish I would have gone first. But long story short, she drove first. And the whole entire time, I don't remember detail by detail because this happened like 2 years ago. As she was driving, basically, the whole time she was very nervous. Now, I will say, we were not the best drivers, okay? So obviously, we're not going to drive the best, okay? We're not going to be that good. Before we even got in the car, he asked us, have you guys ever driven before? Because he knew it was both of our first times. He said, have both of you guys driven before? And I said, I've driven before, but it was more of just in the parking lot. I understand how the car works. I just never really have driven on like a road before, or like a four-way, or like a stop. Like I haven't driven on the actual road before. And so she didn't either. And we both told him that before we started driving. So he was like, oh, okay. He seemed super chill about it. Then she gets in the car, I sit in the back, and they start driving. Now, anybody who's been to a driving school knows that the instructor on their passenger side also has the brakes where they can press the brakes if they need to. And long story short, she starts driving. At first, it's okay, but I can already kind of tell that this is going to be a long ride because of the way that he was acting. So she was going super, super slow. When you first start driving, you're going to be scared, so you're going to drive slow as possible. He kept like raising his voice a little, telling her to go faster, and like telling her to do this or do that. Long story short, we get on the road and it just turns chaotic. Like he starts yelling at her and just like, do you know how to drive? Like pressing his brakes really, really aggressively, and if I do say so myself, very dangerously. He was making the situation way worse than it needed to be by pressing his brakes aggressively to the point where the car was slamming like this in the middle of a road where people are behind us. So the way he was pressing his brakes, if somebody was behind us, they could have rammed into the car. And it was very, very dangerous, very, very aggressive. And it's just like, sir, why are you a driving instructor if you don't know how to deal with people that are driving for the first time? Because it wasn't anything like she was about to crash into a car or swerve off the road, or like somebody was about to hit us. It wasn't anything like that. It was just she wasn't driving exactly the way he wanted her to drive. And he was yelling and freaking out about it. And so as soon as this starts happening, I got even more nervous because I'm like, okay, so not only are we nervous because it's our first time really driving like this, but I'm nervous now because I feel like you're going to yell at me. I feel like you're going to catch an attitude with me. I feel like this is just going to go bad. And I definitely think that plays a part into what's about to happen next, because I have really bad anxiety. I have really, really bad panic attacks. And I definitely think that when I get very nervous about certain things that I know I can't control, it starts to make my anxiety increase. and that leads to my anxiety leads to panic attacks. So it's just so many things that I was nervous about that at this point I don't even want to drive anymore because I'm scared, dude. I'm just plain scared. So long story short, he's yelling the entire time she drives, basically telling her how bad of a driver she is, even though we both told this man that it was our first time driving. So he makes her leave. He hated her driving so much that he makes her go back into the parking lot way before her time, and we just park the car. And he's like, okay, it's your turn. And then after yelling at her, basically, he's like, you didn't do that bad though. But it's like, sir, how are you going to say she didn't do that bad, but you were literally acting like a lunatic on the road? Which makes us, I don't think he understands, as first-time drivers, you acting the way you were acting makes it worse. It doesn't make it better. So anyways, we finally get back to the place, we park, and now it's my turn. So she gets out the car, goes in the back, and I get out the car and go in the front. And as I'm going in the front, I just remember him making this comment and be like, I hope you drive better than her. And instantly I feel pressure. Like, I already was nervous about driving and nervous about him catching an attitude and nervous about him killing us, basically, because of the way he was acting. But now I feel pressure because he's like expecting me to do better than her. And it's like, if I'm quite frankly real, guys, to be honest, I probably could have drove better than her because I feel like I had driven more than her with my dad. I had just more driving experience with my dad than her because she hadn't driven at all, but I had driven at least a little. So I feel like I was going to do at least a little better than her, but because I was so nervous from the peer pressure of this guy next to me, and the way he was acting towards us, I literally was just so nervous to the point where I was incapable of really focusing. And I feel like at that point, I should have literally just left. I should have told him, I want to leave. Can we do this another day? I want another driving instructor because I can't deal with your attitude. I should have just said that, or, you know, I should have just basically found a way to get out of it without being disrespectful. But I didn't do it because, again, I was nervous and I didn't want him to yell at me for saying that. So I get in the car and I'm nervous laughing as he's talking. And then, of course, we start backing up. Keep in mind, guys, I ended up driving, I'm going to go ahead and say it, I ended up driving way worse than her. And the reason I drove way worse than her is because in the middle of me driving, I had a panic attack. And I had very bad anxiety to the point where I couldn't breathe because this man made me so nervous. He made me so nervous. I can't even explain the feeling. So I back up. As soon as I back up, he's already yelling at me because I wasn't looking a certain way where I was supposed to be looking. And I understand those things. Like, you definitely want a driving instructor that's going to teach you how to drive correctly, right? You don't want a driving instructor that's going to teach you that anything you do is okay and not correct you. So it wasn't the fact that he was correcting me that was the problem. I just want to put that out there because I feel like some people may think that because I'm saying these things, I didn't want him to correct us when we were wrong. That's not what I'm saying. I was completely fine with him correcting us because we were new drivers. We needed to be corrected. It was the way he was going about it, okay? You just have to have patience when you're in the car, when you're riding with somebody. Like, why would you sign up to be a driving instructor? Why would you apply to be a driving instructor if you're not willing to be patient with people that are driving for their first time, okay? So long story short, he's yelling at me the entire time. We end up driving into this neighborhood, and this is when it gets weird, okay? So when I drive with my dad, right, keep in mind, I am 17 at the time, so I have common sense. I'm not stupid. I'm not a little kid. But at the same time, I'm not going to disrespect or not follow what he's telling me to do. So when I drive with my dad's always like, stay in the middle of your lane. That's like the first thing he used to tell me when I would be driving. Stay in the middle of your lane, right? Even though I will only drive in the parking lot, he still told me that, like, stay in the middle of your lane. And even, like, before I started driving with my dad, I used to always watch my parents drive, and they would always be in the middle of their lane. I would always watch people driving. They're always in the middle of their lane. I mean, that's common sense tells you to drive in the middle of your lane. Otherwise, you're going to hit a car on the side of you, right? So as we're driving in the neighborhood, he's telling me, you know, you're supposed to slow down and drive slower in the neighborhood. I was driving at like 30. I think 30 is the highest you should go in a neighborhood. Some may be even smaller than that or lower than that. He was telling me to speed up and he was telling me to ride on the line. Because at first I was in the middle, and he said, you keep driving over here. Drive on the line. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Like, that's weird. Why are you telling me to drive along the line? Sir, there's cars. Like, if there was a car next to us on the other side of the lane, we would literally get hit. That just doesn't seem right. I think the line's there to tell you not to cross it unless you're turning lanes. But he was telling me to drive on the line. And when I started driving on the line, because I didn't want him to yell at me anymore, he was like, he started to calm down and was like, yeah, that's perfect. And I'm just sitting there like, I know I'm not supposed to be doing this. Like, this is not right. But for some reason, this man's telling me to do it. Now, I will say, there was times when he had a right to be scared of my driving because I was so nervous, guys. My panic attack kicked in, and then I kept literally like driving so slow to the point where another car could have hit us. I wasn't turning correctly. I would turn very, very fast and sharp. It was just not it, dude. And the worst part that happened in this whole situation was when we were driving back to the driving school location. We're in this road that has 4 different lanes, right? It's the incoming traffic, basically. And there is so much traffic in this area normally, guys. So I think that was God, because most times there's so much traffic in there, and I promise you guys, if there was traffic like it normally is, we would have gotten in a wreck. But it wouldn't have been my fault that we got in the wreck. It would have been the man's fault. Now let me explain to you why. So basically, at this point, I'm so nervous, but I finally calmed down, and the reason I calmed down was because I was no longer nervous. I was pissed off. I was so mad. I was just so mad. Like, I wanted to go off on this man because I just felt like he had disrespected me this whole time, because I didn't really speak on it, but he was making all these type of really rude comments to me, saying, you're a terrible driver, just really like degrading me in terms of my driving. And it's like, I understand I am not the best driver. I just started driving. This is my first time driving on the road. I understand I'm not good at all yet. Like, I could definitely get better with practice, most definitely. But like, the way he was just speaking to me and the other girl in the car was just so wrong. I don't care like how nervous you are to be in a car with somebody that's driving for the first time. If you're that nervous, you shouldn't have signed up to be a driving instructor. Because I've heard multiple of my friends, their driving experience was nowhere near mine. Their driving experience was perfect. They had really nice people. My sister's driving instructor was super chill and super nice. So it's like, the only time you should raise your voice is if you see we're about to get in a crash. If I'm not putting us in potential danger, there's no reason for you to be raising your voice at me. All you have to do is tell me, next time do this instead of this, and I would have literally done it. But because of how he was talking to me, I don't do well with people talking to me disrespectfully, whether you're an adult or a child, and I was just really freaking out. So at this point, I was just mad. I was so mad, but I was still nervous at the same time. I was shaking, guys, like shaking so bad from anger and also from fear. So this is the part where I'm driving in one of the 4 lanes, trying to get to a stoplight to turn to pull up into the building. So we're so close to, I'm thinking, okay, I'm chilling. I'm like, okay, we're almost done. I'm just ready to get out of this car and never see this man again, basically. Because I was going to refuse to drive with him the next time. Because before I thought that once you get your driving instructor the first time, that's your permanent driving instructor. But then I found out that wasn't how it was usually. Like, that's not how it basically was. You could get any of the people depending on the day you came, but most times people did get the same person. So I'm just happy that I didn't, but I'll explain that later. So as I'm driving into the 4 lane, I guess I was going too slow. I should have been going faster than what I was going, and long story short, he told me to switch lanes. I went to switch lanes, and I will say, I did not do this correctly. I will say it, okay? I didn't do it correctly, and that's fine. But the way he acted could have gotten us literally in an accident. So he tells me to turn lanes into the left lane so I could turn into the driving school. Okay, so I turn on my blinker, and I know I'm supposed to look back, make sure nobody's coming, check the mirror, then look back. I did that. I'm about to switch lanes, and because I wasn't continuously looking to make sure cars weren't coming back, my problem was I looked one time and didn't see, and so I went to turn. But what I should have done, I should have kept looking to make sure, and kept looking in the mirror to make sure I didn't see anything. Um, After I checked my blind spot, I should have continued to look in the mirror, but I didn't. And so I was about to switch lanes, and I didn't see the car speeding past me, but he saw the car speeding past me. Um, but keep in mind, it wasn't like to the point where I was literally almost in the lane. Like, it was like I was just about to do it, but if he had told me to like stop, I would have literally just kept straight. But basically, he saw the car. I didn't see the car, and he was like, "Stop, stop, stop! What are you doing?" Like yelling so loud. And so I just keep straight. I didn't switch lanes, okay? I wasn't gonna do that. I kept straight because I didn't know what he was talking about. And as soon as I'm perfectly fine. We're not switching lanes, guys. At this point, we are not in danger. The car already passed by. At that point, I could have switched lanes at that point because the car had already passed by. This dude presses on his brakes so hard to the point where the girl in the back, she had a hat on, it flew off. My back literally like hit the thing like this, and my neck even yanked back like really hard, and I heard it pop. It was so bad. Like, when I say he pressed the brakes so hard, and in the middle of us pressing brakes, keep in mind we're in the middle of a lane, there are cars coming behind us. A car could have easily came and rammed into us, thinking, because we were supposed to keep going, we're not supposed to stop in that area, they could have easily crashed right into us, and it would have been our fault for braking so fast. And so long story short, this man almost got us in a car accident. Thank God there was no cars behind us, and that's why I think it's God, because normally there is so much traffic in this area. But after that, he stopped it. And not only did he stop it, I was thinking he was just going to press the brakes and like be like, please don't do that. And I was going to go again. He stops it to basically call me a failure. He didn't say those words verbatim, but he implied it most definitely by his attitude, and by him basically saying, he got really close to me. He was like, do you know how to drive? What the hell are you doing? But keep in mind, the way I'm saying it is not how he said it. And even if you say that in a calming tone, it's still very disrespectful. But the way that he said it, he was yelling at the top of his lungs, dude. Like, people in their cars with their windows up were looking at him like, is everything okay? Because they saw the driving school name on the back of the car. Okay? This man was literally going off on me. Going the hell off on me, guys. And one thing about me, when I get disrespected by adults and I know there's nothing really do about it, I want to cry. I feel helpless. Like, there's nothing I can do to this, like, to get out of the situation. There's nothing I can do to really defend myself other than speak, because this guy is so rude. But I couldn't speak because my anxiety got so bad. Like, when he pressed those brakes, guys, I literally had a panic attack. I couldn't breathe. I was shaking. I was literally just crunched up like this on the wheel. Like, I was literally terrified because of this man acting like this. Like, he was just acting so uncalled for. Like, everything he was doing was so rude and uncalled for. And long story short, we finally get to the place after he went off on me, and I was parked in the middle of a lane for a good minute. People literally had to pass over because of he just stopping in the middle of ongoing traffic, basically. We finally get to the place. I pull in, and then after all this stuff, he's like, you guys didn't do that bad, but you just guys have to practice. I literally look at him like he's crazy, because I'm like, sir, don't ever, ever, ever try to act like you didn't just go off on us and now you're acting all calm and cool. Because me and her, he went off on me way more than he went off on her, but he was still going off on her. She was like done for it as well. But after that, dude, that was my first experience driving with a driving instructor. I never wanted to drive again. Like, I already had a fear of driving that just solidified it all. Like, that was like, okay, I no longer want to ever drive again. I don't even want to finish driving school. Like, just take me home. I don't want to go to this place ever again. These people are going to treat me like this. Because, and then he really made me feel like I was incapable of learning how to drive. He made me feel like I was stupid. He made me feel like I was just very, very just dumb. And I didn't appreciate that. And I still don't appreciate that to this day, because you don't make people feel like that. It's not okay. It's really not okay. But let me tell you where God works and where God is so good, okay? Because I don't know what happened to this man, but I'm pretty sure he got let go or something happened, because I didn't see him anymore. And let me explain what happened. So after that happened, I got out the car as fast as possible, and my mom was there, and I didn't want to let my mom know what happened, and I regret that. I should have told her what happened. But I didn't tell her really what he said to me. I just told her it was bad. I drove bad, and it was my fault, basically. And when I got home, I cried. I'm not embarrassed to say it. I cried because this man really hurt my feelings. It was just, there's just certain things that you don't say to people, especially people that are vulnerable at that position, people that are already, scared and nervous because they've never done this before or done something before. You don't speak to people you don't treat people that way at all. I literally, at that point in time, I think my fear of driving was already bad, as I explained earlier, but I think this experience, now that I didn't realize it at the time, but now that I'm thinking back on it, I really think that this experience made my fear of driving worse, because I did not drive for like a year after this. After I got my license, I still didn't want to drive, guys. And I really, really think that it was because of that made me so scared of driving. Like, it made me feel like I was incapable of driving. Like, I didn't have what it took to drive, even though everybody learns how to drive. So after that experience, all I told my mother was that I did not want to ever be in the car with him again. I told her that he was very, very, I did tell her that he was rude. And I did tell her that he made me nervous and I didn't like it. I'd rather have a female instructor. But I didn't really go in depth to her, because I know if I had gone in depth to her, she would have went up there to complain to somebody. But long story short, I go up the next time and I see the guy there, but I got the girl. So I was so happy, and he was looking at me like he recognized me. He was looking at me sideways and all types of stuff, but I ignored him. Long story short, up until that point, I drove with the lady the rest of my driving time, and at first it was very shaky, but even when I would drive bad, she wouldn't yell at me. Like, she was very stern and very firm, but she was nowhere near as rude as this man. She wasn't rude, she was more of just firm, and I really do appreciate her, because she was so much nicer than this man. Like, she was not mean to me. She was just very stern. And you have to know the difference, because some people may consider her rude, but she was just very stern, which I feel like is normal, okay? But she was just so much of a better instructor than him, and I did start off very, very shaky with her as well. But it makes sense, because I was so scared from that first experience that it carried with me through the rest of my the rest of my lessons. As I was driving with the lady I think it was my second time driving with her. My problem was I kept driving along the line. And so she finally addressed it. She was like, Emery, why do you keep driving along the line? Like, who told you that was okay? Like, why do you keep doing that? You're supposed to drive in the middle of your lane. And I was like, that's what I was supposed to do. That's what my parents teach me. But the first time I ever drove on the road was here, and the first person I ever got to drive with was the guy in there, and basically he was telling me to drive along the lines. I kept it real with her, because I'm like, you're not about to blame me for this. Like, I was so traumatized from that experience, dude, that it really made me drive really bad for a minute. And so she was like, who? And I described him, because there's two guys in there. There's a white guy, and basically he's the one that teaches the driving instructor. He was super cool. I really actually liked him. He was really, really funny. But I never got him as a driving instructor, and I kind of wanted him. But the lady was super nice too, and basically I told her that the black guy told me to drive along the line. I told her everything. And I'm thinking she's gonna be like, are you sure about that? Or are you just trying to blame him? But no. What she says next is just like tea. So basically she was like, that's funny you say that because you are not the first person that's told me that. So I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. So this man was really telling students to drive along the line. And he was like, she said, I'm gonna have a talk with him. Thank you for telling me that. Let's just say after that, I never saw him again. So I don't know if he quit. I don't know if he got fired. I don't know what happened. But all I know is I never saw him again. And I'm okay with that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this story. Comment down below your driving experiences. How did driving go for you? How many times did you have to take your test? Even though my driving experience started off so bad, if you guys can't tell from these two story times, it actually ended really, really well. This last story time of the almost getting caught in a shootout, basically was my last day of driving anyways. So I went out with a bang. Not literally, thank God. But that was the last day of my driving instructor and I passed. And after that, I was done and I took my actual test like maybe a week or two later. I had to schedule an appointment and I practiced parallel parking and I was really good with that. And basically, long story short, I took my test and I passed the first time. So I just want to make an announcement to that person. I doubt he's watching this video, and I doubt he remembers me. But, sir, if you're watching, I passed my driving test the first time, so I'm very capable of driving. I'm not incapable of driving, but thank you for trying to bring a young girl down because you didn't. So I just wanted to give that little quick diss out. But I just am so happy that I am done with that phase in my life. I don't ever want to go back to that phase in my life. Now the new phase is getting a car, and yeah, that's the next phase for me is getting a car. But I don't ever have to take driving school or driving test again, and I am so happy about that, guys. So again, let me know in the comments below your driving experiences. How old were you when you first started driving? Did you have a crazy rude experience like this as well? Just let the tea go down below, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment down other videos you guys want to see of me. Like, comment, and subscribe, and remember that you guys are so loved. No matter who tries to make you feel like you're invalid or you're not good enough or you're incapable of doing something, those are your haters, and we don't listen to those haters. We don't even see haters. So just block them out and just know that you are so loved. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.